What's up, everybody? You got Ben
and Caleb,
and today we're talking Glycol Chillers. So with that, let's roll into it. First up, we're gonna be talking about the BrewBuilt. Caleb, we got the smaller 2, and we got the 4. Let's go over the pros of each first. First, I think they look decent compared to some of the other ones.
Absolutely.
Black, they're covered, they look like they're purpose built. Other pro, so specifically for the 2, this one is going to be the least expensive out of all the 6 that we'll be looking at today. It's also the least powerful, but it can only handle 2 fermenters at a time, where most of the other ones are 4. But if you want the lowest barrier of entry, you're gonna have this one. As far as other pro, this one is also pretty much tied with us and Blichmann as being the most quiet. These have, which could be a pro, we personally think it's a negative, the built-in pumps. I'll give the high level, and then you can maybe give the engineering speech.
Sure.
So, our design, we have our pumps sold separately. We sell it with our TC100 temperature control kit. So if you have 1 fermenter, you'll have 1 pump. If you have 2 fermenters, you'll have 2 pumps. With these, if you buy this, it comes with 2 pumps. So you're paying for 2 pumps no matter what. If you buy that, you're paying for 4 pumps no matter what, even if you're running 1 or 2 fermenters. Maybe you can talk about what the con is if one breaks, how you would replace it with this versus how you would replace it with the Spike.
So these are both all-in-one units. You buy it once, everything comes with it, and you're good to go. Now, the issue is if something breaks, anything breaks, guess what? The whole thing is done. You gotta get rid of it. It's a brand new unit. You can't replace individual parts.
So compared to ours, you have a single pump. You put it into the reservoir. Mm-hmm. If it breaks, if it's under warranty, we'll send you a new one. Yeah. If it breaks a couple years, you buy a new one for like $40. Let's see, other cons for both of these. So we have barb fittings, which again, we don't personally like. We use the quick connect fittings. It's easy to put a hose on, take it off.
The last thing I'll say in cons is a lot of these units have controllers that are very, very difficult to use and program. It should be very simple. You should set your temperature and forget about it. Set it and forget it. A lot of these, I still get confused when I try to use them and manipulate them. It's just...
This one has a controller in the back.
Right.
So if this is up against your wall, that's kind of difficult to see.
It's something that it should be simple. Let's just keep it simple. That's what we did with the Spike. It's right there, right in front of you. You can't miss it. It's easy to use.
And the 2 on these, I guess, I'm not going to read the instructions, but I was looking at both of these. It's not very intuitive on how to fill the glycol and how to see what the level is. This one has a sight glass, which is nice. You can see how much is in there. That one, I have no idea. That one, I still have no idea how you fill it. We can maybe after this try to figure that one out. But and the reservoirs are not insulated as well. So with ours, the reservoir where the glycol is held is insulated. It's just going to help the performance compared to a non-insulated unit.
Yep. If you can keep this thing cold, it's going to run less. And if it's noisy, you don't want the spring to run very much. So that's definitely a consideration.
Next up, we're going to do the Penguin. So you'll actually see it's a Spike powered by Penguin, because this is the one that we have sold for about 5 years. It's a good unit. This is the half. We have a 3rd horsepower as well. We'll talk about both. Good unit, reliable. Like I said, we've had one in our brewery for about 5 years. It's worked well. So for the half horsepower, that's actually one of the more powerful units. That's one that we've been using. It's actually the 2nd most powerful that we chose or that we tested.
So one thing about this is, in particular the 1/3 horsepower, is it's a lower price point. It's easier for somebody who wants to get into the market. It's a simple avenue for them to get in, and that works for a lot of people. Another good thing that I see about this unit is a lot of people who want to save space. You're brewing in your closet, you're brewing in your garage, and there's not a lot of space. This is actually sometimes good for people because it has no wheels. It's just, you can put it under a table or under a workbench or under something else, and that's actually really positive.
Up on like a shelf.
Exactly. Yeah. So some people see that as pros. I think that's for some people that's a really actually good thing. So
these 2, the Penguins, are the only horizontal designs compared to all the other ones are vertical. Right. Again, we went vertical. We'll talk about the reasons why, but if you have some sort of weird size constraint, this might be a good unit for you. Yeah, another con with this, it has a really, really small reservoir. This can power 4 fermenters, but there's no way to put 4 pumps in here. The reservoir is really, really small. That's on both units. It's also not insulated. I believe our unit is the only one that has an insulated reservoir, which again, it's just gonna help you, the unit's gonna run less. You're gonna hear it less, no matter how quiet it is. It's gonna be more efficient, all the benefits that you get with that. Another thing with the reservoir, it has, the barb fittings. Again, all the other units have the barb fittings. We went with the quick connects. Just makes it really easy to, connect your fermenter, disconnect it, move it around, whatever you need to do. That's a huge benefit.
Yeah, I mean, this is such a, once you have it up and running, it's fine, right? But it's such a hassle to get it going. You have to have hose clamps, and you have to have stainless steel hose clamps so they don't rust. So it's a lot more tedious to get it set up and running than having a quick connect fitting. You stick it in once, it's all good to go. So
yeah.
Definitely.
Another thing that we've dealt with that too is this isn't like a flip up lid, and if you have 4 hoses connected to this, there's a lot of forces pulling it everywhere. It's just kind of this loose connection,
right.
and there's no seal on it either. It's just a lid. So with ours, and there's a couple other units too, they have an insulated top. It's hinged as well, and there's almost kind of a gasket. So if you are moving it around, it's not going to slosh around. It's also going to help with evaporation. I know personally, this one we've struggled with it over the years where it starts to evaporate and the glycol mixture changes, and now you have your coil freezing, and you wonder why it's not cooling. Then you look, and you just have a big icicle around the coil. Another thing with these two, again, great unit, but these are the loudest, both Penguins that we have by kind of a lot. They're powerful. This one is powerful, but it comes with a pretty big trade-off of how loud it is as well. I mean, a lot of our customers are using them in apartments or a room adjacent to maybe your living room, and it's quite loud. Yeah. It's kind of like the manufacturing that's going on outside that you can probably hear in the camera. Next up, we have the Blichmann. So this one is a formidable competitor, I would say. This one has a very similar noise output to the Spike. Same cooling capacity as well, and it has the vertical design, big reservoir, which is good. You can get this one, I think, controls up to 6 units, so you could easily fit 6 pumps into there, into the reservoir as well.
Along with what Ben said about the other pros, it is a little bit cheaper. It is $1 than the Spike. So
you're gonna say $1.
If you're into that stuff, this is your unit. Also, last thing is it does have casters, so you can move around. Mobility is really nice. So with that said, let's roll into the cons.
See what we did there? There's some, maybe a couple build quality things. This controller is about to pop out of it. It is nice that it's on the front, but being down low, we have it up on a table. If this was in use, it's not gonna be on a table, it's gonna be low. You're gonna almost have to get on your hands and knees to adjust it and see what temperature. We talked about how large the reservoir is. Great. It's not insulated, which is obviously a con. The top is just kind of it's not hinged, so it just kind of sits on there. There's a little bit of insulation, not a lot, and it's not sealed, so you could have some evaporation issues. And if you are moving around on the casters, like you mentioned, there could be some sloshing, especially if you have the reservoir filled up. No drain, so if you wanted to drain out your reservoir, end of the year or whatever you're moving, somehow you have to get this empty. I honestly don't even know how you drain it. Tip it upside down or on its side, maybe.
Forklift out.
Yeah. So some of these minor things, which it's obviously not being able to drain it. Maybe you drain it once a year, the one time you own it, but that one time it's going to be a pain in the butt. What else on the cons list here, Caleb?
Yeah, so the last thing I would say is you do have 6 potential pumps that you can run, which is great. Great capacity. But remember that each one of these has to have a wire that goes into here to run the pump, and each one of these has an inlet and outlet for the pump, right? So this is your only room really to get all your pumps and all your wires in. So a couple, 1, 2 is fine, but if you start having more than that, you're really gonna have issues. And what happens is your lid ends up coming off because it doesn't fit. And then you have issues with evaporation, you have issues with keeping cool and stuff like that. So
yeah, that was one of the big things when we were looking at this. Really, where's the barb outlets, or like how do you connect your hoses? And everything goes through this little 4-inch opening, which is kind of an interesting design. Another note too is just aesthetically, it's not the best looking in our opinion. It looks like something that could be in a commercial kitchen. Small note, but if you're investing $1,000 in something, you should probably look good.
Okay, the SS Brewtech. We have the 1/5 horsepower over here, and its big brother, the 3/8 horsepower over here. So, start with pros. This is the most powerful unit we tested, and the thing you gotta keep in mind with that is also the most expensive. So you get what you pay for there. So, other than that, both have casters, really nice to move around, good mobility, and the last thing is they're both vertical design. This is designed for a small space, and it's good to fit in a closet or a small space that you have for your brew.
Yeah, this one also has 6 outlets. So if you have 6 fermenters, this one has the power to control that and has 6 outlets as well. And big reservoir, could fit 6 pumps in there too.
Yep.
We don't like the barb fittings. Again, we've kind of beaten a dead horse on that one, but we like the push connect.
Yeah.
So
a little simpler.
This one is on the louder end. I think this was the third loudest that we tested. Again, it's one of the more powerful. This one is the most powerful, but it is one of the loudest. Aesthetically, these are not covered. They kind of have the guts open, which also doesn't help with the noise as well. Ours is enclosed, which kind of keeps the noise, inside the unit itself. Yeah, with the insulated reservoir, I mean, that was one of the biggest tooling expenses we had with our unit, was making that custom foam insulated tub to go around the reservoir. So, I mean, that's a huge cost, and that's why we're probably the only ones that actually went that direction.
Yeah, last thing I'll say is, we talked about this being the most powerful, but it's also the most expensive. This is a really good comparison to the Spike. It's basically the same cost, but you're getting 25-30% less power out of it. So keep that in mind when you're buying.
Okay, the moment we've all been waiting for. We have the new Spike Glycol Chiller. So Caleb, I know you've been working on this, designing it for the last year or so. So I'm going to put you on the spot, and you have to tell us the cons with this. What parts of the design, does it fall short with the other units?
Great question, Ben. There are no cons. I spent a year designing this thing, and it's flawless.
Okay, moving to the pro now.
No, just kidding. No, really, there's as much as I would love to make this thing perfect, and that's what my mind likes to do. I have a few things I like to talk about. One, it's not the smallest, and that's something that I was willing to part with, because I feel like it's not a big deal for a lot of people. It is for some people, but it's not for everybody. And when I say it's not the smallest, it's not a big difference between the smallest one and this one. It's just a little bit. So I will say that. And the other thing is, it's not the cheapest either. It's right in the middle. We think it's a good price point. It's the cheaper ones you get less, right? So the BrewBuilt 2, for example, is a little bit less expensive, on the cheaper end of things. But you got to realize that this can hold 4 fermenters, no problem. That can only hold 2. So
yeah, I mean, I think as an engineer, you want to have the best of everything. You want to be the most powerful and the quietest, and this and this and this. But there's some concessions you have to make. Yep. And with this, we kind of found that happy medium spot where we the first thing that we did when we were developing this is we did our market research and figured out how many fermenters are people using, what's the price point you want to spend, how much do you value it being quiet, all those different factors, and kind of condense it into this. So yes, it's not the least expensive, but it's also, in our opinion, the most feature dense.
Like Ben said, there's a lot going on here, so let's dive into some of the details, the pros that we think that are going to set this apart from our competitors. So I'll start with I'll start over here in the sight glass. The sight glass is nice because you don't have to open it up to see how much liquid you have in there. It's very simple to figure out when you're filling this thing. You need to have ratios, and if you get distracted or whatever, it's a lot easier to see what you have in there, and it without opening up. It's just very simple, easy to use.
You talk about ratios. I think that was something that was a little bit confusing for us. You designed it, you understood it, but for us on the outside looking in, it was a little bit confusing And we actually made it really simple based on the reservoir size, where you buy a 2.5 gallon bottle of our glycol, you mix it with 5 gallons of distilled water, and it gives you the perfect ratio and the perfect fill amount. Right. So I think we even made that part of the assembly and use easy. Yeah. Maybe talking about the reservoir as well, maybe walk us through the design. We've talked about it doesn't have the built-in pumps, which we like. The insulation, all the good parts about the
inside. So this thing we made it to be quiet, and that was very important to us. But also we put a lot of insulation around. There's about 2 inches of foam insulation on all 4 sides and the bottom. And the reason for that is so that you can keep the cool glycol in and not run very often. So that's going to help with noise. There is a little bit of noise. It's going to help with keeping it cold and ultimately keeping your beer where you want it to be during fermentation. So reservoir is big. It's got about 8 gallon max capacity, which will take care of 4 fermenters, no problem. It's got plenty of room for pumps, so you don't have to play Tetris with your pumps and try to figure out how they fit and get all your hoses in there.
If you look at the coils on the outside, and has a huge area for the pumps to be inserted. Mm-hmm. Maybe talk about the built-in pumps versus our approach with having the separate standalone pumps.
We did not include the pumps with this unit on purpose, and we think it's an advantage because people can buy one pump if they have one fermenter they want to chill. They can buy 2, they can buy 3, 4. You're not paying for 4 pumps, 4 controllers like you are with some of the other units. That's all baked into your cost, right? This one, you can kind of do it the way you want. It's very customizable, and that's what we went with. So.
Yeah, kind of continuing top down. Yeah. We have the lid. It's hinged. It's I know you put a lot of work in just hinge. So like you think a hinge is easy, but a lot of work went into that. It has a real thick, probably 1 inch of foam to help insulate it. It's also kind of gasketed, so if you move it around, it's gonna not slosh. What else do we have? You want to talk about the cord routing? I know that was a big question.
Yeah, so this lid, it'll step right here, like a seam, and then we have this little feature back here for cord routing, because if you can have the best of intentions with a gasketed or a insulated top, but if you have cords and hoses running through it, guess what? It's worthless. So we put this little hole here for cords routing through. Very simple and easy to use. So little feature that might not think about, but it'll help you in the future.
We've harped on the barb fittings. Let's maybe talk about the quick connects.
Yeah, we are the only people on the market who sell these quick connects, standard, right? So we think these are superior because you don't need hose clamps to tighten them down. They're very simple. If you need to change it out, you don't need tools, right? So
it doesn't ruin your hoses. Like if you have a hose barbit, you have to cut that end off. This just clicks right in.
Yeah. If you mix up your in and out, okay, guess what? That's fine. You just redo it. It's very simple, very easy to use. Comes standard. It sets us apart.
Let's see. Let's talk about controller. Again, another small detail, but we went a custom route with a controller to make it easier. Maybe talk about what makes it easier.
Yeah, this is something that in my opinion, you should not need a user manual and 3-4 pages to set your temperature, right? Like it's really simple to use. You only can do 2 things. You can change your temperature up and down, and you can change from Celsius to Fahrenheit. That's it. It's simple. It shouldn't be any harder than that.
Novel idea to have the up button go up in temp and down. And all the complex, the offsets and the delays, and it's all hidden behind the scenes. You can't get to it. We did all that work. It's like you said, it's up to go up, down to go down, and you can go Celsius and Fahrenheit.
One other feature that we decided to incorporate that we thought was very important, and some people will overlook it, but we think it's an important feature, is a drain valve. So if you ever need a drain glycol chiller, if you're moving, if you have issues with it, or if you have stuff that gets in there, or your kids throw a bunch of sand in it, whatever, you're not having to tip it upside down and dump it out. There's a simple drain valve right on the other side. Pop it up, drain it, move on. Okay. Last thing is, this casters right here come standard, and it can be moved around. Mobility. It's got locks on it, so it doesn't have to worry about rolling around places you don't want to.
Next up, the noise. That was something that was brought up in market research. A lot of people have these in their apartment or adjacent to their living room. They don't want this loud thing. So noise was something that we took into account. This was actually the quietest one that we tested, and we got away with that with a couple things. You talked about the insulation. That was one. The whole unit is enclosed, which, you know, really kind of seals that noise. The venting, the cooling vents, are strategically located to really keep the noise not coming at you, but going either back or sideways, which helps kind of diffuse the noise. You know, with it being sealed, we think it looks, you know, the best. You know, again, we had our industrial designer put time into designing this thing so it looks, you know, beautiful in your brewery and not like it should be in a commercial kitchen or kind of hacked together. So like all of our products, you know, we want it to function as well as it looks. So we walked through all the benefits. Obviously there's a long list. You know, I kind of joked before, but you know, we cheated. We have something like 6 or 7 other units that we've bought, that we've tested. We've looked at all the features, the functionality, what we liked, what we didn't like, and we were able to take all the features we liked, pack them into here. All the features we were missing or that we wanted, we were able to design and develop those and put them into here. This, you know, it's power-wise is right in the sweet spot. It has enough power to control your 4 fermenters, and you know, price point is kind of right in that medium spot too. So yes, it's not the cheapest. You know, if you're watching this video, you probably know Spike isn't the cheapest, but you're gonna get your bang for the buck. You know, I think we've always pushed value at Spike, where yes, we're not the cheapest, but you're gonna get a feature dense product that looks good, that's gonna last for a really long time. And I think Caleb, you knocked out of the park with this. It's a great unit, great looking unit with a ton of features.
Thanks, boss. Thanks everybody for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. We think this is a really nice unit that'll change the market and add a lot of value to your brewery. Happy brewing.